Hey everybody, this is your Right Geek here with the first video of 2020. Happy New Year, everyone. I'm sorry it took me so long to return to YouTube after the holiday break, but unfortunately we had a pretty serious death in the family shortly after Christmas, so we were occupied with funeral plans and the like. But I have returned, and I hope that I can continue to bring you some decent entertainment in the year to come. So what I have here today is I have another one of my Iron Man comics that I want to talk about today. This is another kind of silly, kind of average Tales of Suspense story. This would be from Tales of Suspense number 74. And the reason I want to go over this particular one in my opening volume here is it contains, despite being really silly, it contains all of the features that I love about the early Iron Man comics and the early characterization of Tony Stark. So, feature number 1. Melodrama and swooning. So basically this story picks up with Tony almost passed out here. He has just finished fighting the Black Knight to rescue Happy, who was kidnapped. And now his transistor power is almost gone. Can't last much longer. Need a recharge. And so he has to use the last little bit of his power to see if he can get someone who is back at his factory that can come and rescue him and plug him in. And Pepper is the one who hears the call, so she comes and gets him. But so we have here the fact that at the end of the fight, he's basically spent, which ties into what I've said in earlier videos about how the heart issue, the broken heart issue, is something that I really connected to. The idea that as you're fighting, sometimes you just can't fight anymore. Which again, as someone who is chronically ill and deals with chronic pain, I relate to that to some extent. So we have that feature. All right, so he gets rescued and he gets plugged back in. And then he learns that Happy, who he rescued in the previous issue, they're about to use a device on Happy to try to cure him of his injuries from a previous storyline. And Tony knows that this is a very bad idea because this particular technology hasn't been fully tested, it hasn't been fully developed yet. So he has to go off with not his maximum power. He just goes with however much he needs just to get going again. And we come up here to a second feature, and that is that this early Tony likes to deny himself of things, particularly love. Well, not likes to, that's kind of the wrong way to say it, but he feels like he has to deny himself love and deny himself human companionship. And his reasons, he says here. So he's talking to Pepper here, and he says, "I must leave now, Pepper. Perhaps someday I'll be able to thank you for what you've done. You sound as though you won't return." And he thinks, that note in her voice again, like a girl in love. And as he flies off, he thinks, "It took me months to make her hate Tony Stark, because I love her too much to let her marry a man whose heart may stop at any second." So, in these early issues, one of the common themes was he recognized that Pepper had a crush on him, but he refused to pursue it. He denied himself that opportunity because he thought that it would be cruel to her if he got into a relationship with her and then fell dead because of his broken heart. That's And that's something that comes up again and again and again. It's almost like a catchphrase. No one could ever love me because my heart could stop at any second. And I love that too. It's so melodramatic and so classic of these early comics that since there's a chance I could die at any second, I must deny myself any pleasure or deny myself any loves. And he says, but if she transfers that love to Iron Man, I'm right back where I started. Perhaps it would be best if I never did return. Okay, so we catch up to the story. We have, again, the Doctor's using this untested, unfully developed technology on Happy, and he turns into this freakish monster because of it, which is super silly, but it does lead to the third feature of these early Iron Man comics that I really like, and that is the theme of tech-related guilt. This is something that comes up repeatedly in these early comics, either in Tales of Suspense or Volume 1, that I always enjoy about this character. And so we have Happy has been turned into this uncontrollable monster, and Tony's reaction is, he must be stopped, he's too dangerous to run wild, but under the shell of that savage freak is the identity of Happy Hogan. How could I try to destroy the man who once saved my life? And yet, what of the danger to mankind if he rampages unchecked? It was my innovator that did this to him. I'm the one to blame. So even this early on, we're establishing this idea that Tony feels that his technology, if it is used incorrectly or if it results in a bad effect, then it's automatically his fault, and he has to take on the responsibility of dealing with the consequences. As he said, as at the end of the story, and yet I cannot shirk from what must be done. If the blame is mine, then the sacrifice must be mine too. So again, I love that. I love that. So we have again the three features: the melodrama, the self-denial, and the overwhelming sense of guilt. And that's why I said in the thread on your boy Zach's post on Iron Man 3 that guilt, I feel, is one of the central aspects of Tony Stark as a character in most of these comics, at least when comic writers aren't screwing up the characterization and they're actually staying true to how he was established in the beginning. So that is the Iron Man story in Tales of Suspense number 74. Thank you for listening to my rambling about Iron Man, and I hope to speak to you again Thursday night.